Welcome back to Sexy and Smart, episode 2. We are here with Wade Houston. We're working on rebranding, being confident, but also managing ego. So we're gonna kind of just talk about your rebranding and what you've been through, and you're really open about addiction and just kind of how you've built yourself up from being so low. So for people who don't know you, what do they need to know about your journey?
I think probably the greatest testament from my journey is that you can overcome anything and it's never too late to start. I didn't start my life until 31 years old.
Okay.
Right? I spent pretty much my entire life under the influence, at least high every day, smoking weed and eating Xanax. I quit drinking a long time ago, but at 31, that's when I hit my proverbial rock bottom and I realized there's more for me in this life. In fact, I got a sign from God and he said for the first time ever, like actually hearing him vividly, there is more for you. And I realized at that moment that I needed to make some changes in my life. And so for anybody listening, I would say, I actually hope that you hit a point that hurts so bad that you're forced to make changes, because comfort is the biggest issue that we all face. People are doing just good enough to not make changes, and that's the worst place you can ever be in, because if you're doing just good enough, it's not gonna hurt bad enough to make the changes. It's gonna help you live an amazing life. And so I feel really bad for people that get stuck in the middle, and I got stuck there as well, right? I just did drugs my whole life. I made $500K a year, which for me was good enough, and it never put me in a position where I was like, hey, I'm gonna have a massive impact, I'm gonna get sober, I'm gonna help my family, I'm gonna make millions. But that point of desperation got me there, and so I would say for anybody watching, it's never too late to start, and you can change your entire life in a year.
100%, as I know. So when did you first move to Miami, and kind of who were you surrounding yourself with, right? Like, tell me kind of that timeline.
Okay, when I was about 14, I met a kid who grew up here in Miami, very privileged kid. And we stayed friends, and after college I would come down and visit him. So this was in like 2013, 14, 15, all the way through 18. I was coming down to Miami and just partying like crazy. Every Art Basel, every Ultra.
Okay.
They lived in, multi-eight-figure homes and a crazy connected network. They also produced music, so I was in the studio with Future and Yo Gotti and The Weeknd, and to me, Miami was just a dream, right? I was at all the VIP tables all the time, and I always had a ton of drugs with me. So that was my journey to Miami, and what I realized was I should just move down here. That was at the end of 2018. My friend's like, why don't you move down here?
How old were you?
I was 30.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go down for a week. I'm not gonna party. I'm gonna look at some areas and see if I could actually make a life here. I was financial advising at the time, but I was like all done. I had fizzled out. And so I came down. One of my friends owned a Land Rover dealership, and I was like, all right, I'll sell cars for like a couple months until I figure out what I want to do, just something.
Okay.
So I did. In 2019, January, I moved down here and I partied straight for 4 months. Everyone was coming to visit me. I was going out every single night. And after, about 4 months, I found myself out at a club. I left the club. My friends wanted to go to 11. And I was like, no, I don't want to go. I want to go home. I was pretty drunk. And I was standing outside waiting for an Uber, and my Uber canceled a few times. And then this woman pulled up and said, hey, you want to ride down the beach? And I was like, yeah, that would be great right now. Like, my Uber just canceled. I definitely would like one. And I thought she was a prostitute. That was my first thought. I was like, she's just going to try and sell me, and like, I'm not going to say yes, but I'll take the ride and give her $50, whatever. I don't give a shit. And so I get in the car and she's like, hey, you want some Coke? And she's like doing it herself. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. Like, I'm pretty drunk at this point. So she gives me what I thought was Coke, and immediately my face melts into my shoulder. It definitely wasn't Coke. And she steals my Rolex and my jewelry and leaves me with my phone and wallet, but takes that stuff. And I wake up about 4 hours later on my back. Worst feeling of panic and anxiety I've ever had. Whatever this drug was just like horrible.
Okay.
And that was the moment. It was May 5th, 2019 when I woke up on my back, Cinco de Mayo. And I just heard a voice. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it just kept saying, like, there's more for you in this life, there's more for you. And I remember I called my dad and I was like, hey Dad, I just got robbed, the watch got stolen. And he said, I don't give a fuck about your watch. He said, but are you drinking again? I hadn't drank in like 7-8 years. I had just done drugs, but that weekend I had started drinking. And I said, yeah, man, I've been drinking. I'm on a bad path. And he was like, look, the way I see it, you have two options. You can go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, get a sponsor, work the 12 steps, and maybe have a shot at a good life. or you can keep doing what you're doing and just continue to be a loser. And it just hit me, like, he was right. Those were the two options. I could continue to go on and be just a loser, or actually get help. And getting help for me was surrendering, right? That was my first ego death, was saying, you know what? I don't know everything. I obviously cannot manage my own life. I can't drink drugs and alcohol. And so I went into AA and got a sponsor. And that was May 6, 2019. That's my sobriety date. I've been sober ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. So obviously, like, you had your community, right, when you moved, when you had it when you were 14, right? You moved when you were 30 years old.
Okay, so real quick.
Okay.
Those friends that I had partied with and spent all this time in Miami with, a couple of them actually moved from Vermont. So my friends from Miami met my friends from Vermont. They formed one super group, and those were the kids I was hanging out with. They could party for a weekend and then stop and live a normal life. I couldn't, right?
Okay.
They weren't degenerates, I was, but we would party together, and then, you know, they would go back to real life.
Okay.
So I sat them down like 2 weeks after getting sober and said, hey boys, I'm not gonna be able to hang out with you guys for like probably 6 months. I'm gonna get sober and I'm serious about this. And they were like, wow, it's gonna be a tough city to get sober in, but if anybody can do it, it's you. And we respect you 100%, as much time away you need. Just, you should know one thing, like, if you ever think you can drink or use drugs again, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. That's exactly what my friend Mike to me
100%.
said. And that also stuck with me too early on in my journey. And so I actually had to completely rebuild myself from zero. And so when people are like, oh dude, you're a privileged kid, or, you know, you came from a loving family, or you had all these opportunities. I had zero friends at that point in Miami. I couldn't talk to my friends. I was $100,000 in credit card debt. I was selling cars. I absolutely hated my life. I was just coming off drugs, and I had to rebuild everything. And so that was the moment that I decided, like, step by step, I was gonna start rebuilding, which first was removing drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. So at that point, is there any other point where you were like, okay, I might have a problem? Like, obviously you stopped doing drugs, right? Back and forth, but when was it, like, what made this different? Because you got robbed, or what was the actual point in, like, time where you're like, okay, I, like, definitely have a problem?
Yeah, it's a great question. It was nothing external. It wasn't the fact that I got robbed, right? If you look back at my life, you would say, whoa, you probably hit some other bottoms. You know, I got 3 DUIs, 3 assault charges, kicked out of prep school, kicked out of college, almost indicted on drug charges. I overdosed on Oxycontin. Like, my path before that, you know, you would have said, whoa, you've had some consequences, maybe you should stop. My family gave up on me, all that. This wasn't about the watch. It was a feeling of despair. It was such a horrible feeling of emptiness, which I now know was a God-sized hole. But I just felt this feeling of, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I going to continue on? And so that feeling of emptiness and just despair is what put me in a position to say, I'm going to get help. So it was an emotional feeling.
I mean, 100%. I felt like that, like, when I was like, I have to do something else. Like, I can't continue posting bikini pictures. Like, this is not a good look. And this is actually what's causing my brand to not excel. And I was like, it took something Vex at the time being like, I'm going to leave you, to make me believe, like, okay, this is not what God has for me. Like, why am I, you know, like, there's no purpose behind it. Like, for what? You can't do this till you're 60. Like, you know, you got to build something sustainable. So, like, was May 6th I chose God, or, like, what was that?
I mean, I developed a relationship with God through that. That's when I said, hey, I'm going to stop drinking, and I'm going to go to Alcoholics Anonymous and get a sponsor. People actually confuse what Alcoholics Anonymous is. They think it's a program to stop drinking, but really it's a program to develop a spiritual experience and to find God. And so the only way that an alcoholic or an addict can ever stop drinking is to maintain spiritual condition every day, which is a relationship with God. But who else can benefit from that? Everybody in the world. It's the greatest program of personal development of all time. And what it helped me do was develop that relationship with God so that I could become a better person and get my family back and create better friends and more impact and stay sober and get healthy. And so that catapulted me into this personal development.
So growing up, like, what were you interested in? What were some things that, like, obviously I've heard you sold drugs, but, like, what were you actually interested in business? Did you ever think that you were going to, you know, teach people how to kind of scale their businesses? Like, what was that? What did that look like for you?
Well, I thought I was going to play professional hockey.
Okay.
And so sports were life. I was 100% on the path of I'm going to go pro. I'm at least going to play college hockey, and then if I don't mess up my life, I'll figure out a way to go pro. But I did. So I think my identity really shattered after when I was 19 because I lost my rights to play hockey. I got kicked off my junior team. I lost my scholarship to play D1 hockey. And so that's when I had to kind of reinvent myself. And my thought at that point was not business outside of selling drugs. Like I just idolized rap culture. I think my dad told me, you're going to go into finance, right? So he's like, look, you're great.
He's into finance?
No, he's not. He's
Okay.
just, and he's not educated at all. He was in marketing.
Okay.
Never been to college, but
Okay.
he was like, look, you're great at math. You know, I got like a 760 on the math portion of the SATs.
Okay.
You know, I did really well in those areas. And so he's like, look, you're going to finance, become an accountant. Like 80% of the CEOs or some outstanding number have a financial background or at least accounting background. So get this and then you can, run a company, but focus on finance first. And I thought, okay, that's probably a good route. And so I did, and I really hated finance. I found it like very boring. And then I started selling cars. And that's when I got my first taste of like sales and, at 20 or 21, like making 150K, still in college. By the way, I was like part-time going to college and then selling cars. And my first year selling cars did 150, and I was like, whoa, like living in Vermont at 21 years old, I'm like, holy crap, there's something to this. This is cool. And then I got recruited to be a financial advisor. They were like, yo, you can sell life insurance and you could make up to 500K in a year, like here in Vermont. And that's all I really cared about. Like I wasn't actually interested in what business I was gonna do that I liked. I was just interested in how could I make money. And I found how unfulfilling that is.
100%.
Right? It's like, it doesn't matter how much money you're gonna make. You're always gonna get to a point where you're burnt out if you don't have any real passion or impact in what you do.
I mean, you see all these Miami guys, right? They're like, yo, like we're having $100,000 table tonight. Like, why would you spend 100? Like, is that in the books really? Like $100,000 on a table? Like, that's not fulfilling. What? So you can dance with some strippers or like some girls and like maybe take them home for one night? Like, you're not finding your wife there,
No,
you know?
not at
So
all.
like it's always so confusing to me how like it's like it's a culture. It's like Thursday through Sunday you go out, right? When I moved, I definitely did that. Like when I went to school at Nova and I 100% was out Thursday ladies night. Like now there's even Wednesday, you know what I'm saying? I never did drugs or anything like that, but like definitely my priorities were messed up. But how do you feel about that? Like, have you met people like that, and how do you distance yourself from that and kind of know your priorities, know your boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are misguided and they think the same thing that I thought. And so I don't judge anyone because I had the same thought process, which was, I'm gonna be happy in life if I get a supercar, if I have a sick penthouse apartment, and I got a playmate looking girl. Like that's what I thought, right?
Yeah.
Just that's gonna solve. And when I was 24, 25, I had all those things, right? Like I was making a bunch of money, I had sick cars, I would come down to Miami, I would do that partying, I would spend 20K on a table, like I would do all this crazy stuff, and I was miserable. And so I was lucky enough to feel miserable and realize that nothing external to me would ever provide me happiness. No amount of partying, no amount of drugs, no amount of material shit would ever make me happy. No. But that requires some serious work on oneself. You have to be willing to observe yourself and your ego and your character defects and say, hey, these are some things that only I can cure. No external thing can cure me. And I know a lot of rich people that still to this day are miserable because they've never realized that nothing external, no material shit will ever make them happy. So I got blessed with that. But in terms of building my network, I don't even if someone's partying, like I don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
There's not a single one of my friends is going out after dinner and going to the club. The only time we ever go out is for like a birthday party when we're all celebrating together. But we're not going out individually to go out. We're going out because as a group of friends, we want to spend time with each other.
Exactly.
And it's just, there's maybe less than 10 times a year we'll go, out, and most of it's in Europe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just only hang out with people that are on the same wavelength as me.
Yeah.
We're up early. Like we travel a lot together. No matter where we are in the world, like we're up at 6 a.m. praying, meditating. We have vlogs of all of this on YouTube. And you can see no matter where we are, no matter how late we've gone out, we're up early, we're sitting in chairs together, we're journaling, we're meditating, we're praying, we're reading the Bible all together.
Yeah.
And so I just only have those kind of people in my life. I don't have any I just have zero tolerance for any like small-minded people who gossip or use drugs or think material shit is the only thing that matters.
I love it. I love it. So obviously, like, you know, you're successful. Did you ever have a value shift when you had a bunch of money, right? When you made, say, $500,000+ a year, did you ever have a shift in what you valued or like how you kind of acted?
Yeah, it was very abrupt because when I first started financial advising, within the first 3 months, I got a check for $200K. And I was like, whoa, you know, this, like, I'm rich, you know, like, I had made some money before, but not $200K in one check, right?
Yeah.
And so I immediately booked a penthouse at the One. I booked a trip down to Miami. I got all the Louis bags I could. I went crazy on clothes and, you know, just I bought a bunch of like stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And not even like a car or a house or apartment or anything like that. I just like went on this trip and I ended up spending about $100K on the trip. And I was down here for like 2 weeks, like lots of drugs, lots of tables, just like being an idiot.
Yeah.
And I remember at the end of that trip, I got home and I had all my Louis bags and all my stuff. And I was like, fuck all this stuff. It doesn't even mean anything. I'm miserable. Like, I hate my life. And it was right at that very moment that I was like, look, money is a powerful tool, but not for what I thought it was for. To like buy a bunch of bags and like get rims on my car and do all these things, like that doesn't provide me any fulfillment.
No.
Right? But I've had that happen multiple times where I understand that nothing external will provide me happiness, but you obviously feel some type of way when you buy a $400,000 Aston Martin. Like, you sit in that car for the first time, it's an amazing feeling, you know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it lasts for like 2 weeks and then you realize you're just in a car and you have all the same problems and you have all the same thoughts just as you did before. And so I think managing ego is important. I used to talk a lot about suppressing ego. I no longer believe that one needs to suppress their ego, but they need to manage their ego in an appropriate way.
100%.
To have some ego and to let that manifest into confidence and impact is important. Right? I need to let my ego be utilized for the proper channels, not for improper channels. And so, look, I was able to reframe get money to buy things to get money to have an impact on my family, get money to have an impact on other people, get money so that I can have freedom, get money so that I can grow my business and help more clients. And that reframe is really what helped me not worry about material shit.
So I saw in one of your other podcasts where it's like, you know, if you're fat, you are not successful.
Yeah.
And I love that. My whole motto is like, health is wealth and wealth is a resource, because I've seen it change so many of people that I'm very close with. And, you know, just like I say, just because you have a nicer car or a nicer house or whatever it is, doesn't mean you should treat someone who doesn't have that much or doesn't show it as much as less than you. Because at the same time, it's like, you know, you see a lot of these, like, you know, people who pull up literally probably renting a Lambo, right? And like being like, oh no, bro, like, you're broke, you can't sit here, right? Kind of very cliquey. And I hate that. It's one of the things that I hate about Miami.
Been so blessed to live a different side of Miami.
Yeah.
I think there's this like Brickell, you know, influencer side of Miami that people get used to. I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed.
Really?
Like, no, I live in Sunset Harbor. Sunset Harbor is full of real billionaires, full of people worth 300, 400, 500 million, because it's everyone who lives on Sunset Islands and North Bay Road. And so they're not trying to flex. They're dressed like I am, in Lulu and a t-shirt, and they're driving scooters in there. And so I don't even like understand this other side of fake flex Miami, because those people that I'm with, they sort of have a distaste for any of that over ostentatious bullshit, like trying to flex. An interesting thing did happen when it came to talking about health. You're saying like that's all someone really has outside of, you know, creating a family and making money. Like, health, it becomes the most important thing.
It is.
I was established in business and I started to gain respect of many of these guys who I spent time with, these billionaires, these guys that live on North Bay Road. But it wasn't until I became president of 10X Health and I became really knowledgeable in functional medicine and longevity and peptides and hormones that they became obsessed with me. I'm serious. Like,
Really?
They want more info from me than anyone else they spend time around. When I go have lunch with them, all they want to know about is, what are the new health protocols? What's the new longevity information? What are you finding out? What are the new peptides? What's the new hormone? Because health is the only thing they have left.
Right.
They have a family, they have the house, they have the money. All they care about is their health. And so I think, why not focus on it early? Why wait and make money and forego your health? When I ask them, the number one thing that they all say is, I wish I had focused more on my health earlier. Or I wish I had spent more time with my family earlier. I way overshot the mark when it came to money. One of them's worth $800 million. He's like, do I really need all this? You know, I wish I had spent more time with my family, and I wish I had spent more time with my health at an earlier time. And so I never forget that. Like, I'm never gonna step over anything in my life just to get a dollar. Like, I wanna be healthy, I wanna have a great mind, I wanna have a spiritual connection, and I wanna have a good family and make money.
Right.
Not the other priorities.
Right. Like, all you have is time. You barely have, right, 80 years if you get it. And like, you only have 80 years with the people that you love. Like, that's crazy to me. And just like, as probably you've seen too, just like this, like, your life can switch up in a second.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've seen that, so, like, when my dad was in the hospital, right, we were praying every single day for him to wake up. That's how valuable a life is, right? And when you put it for granted, or like when you're like, obviously you build constantly, but when you're taking that time to be like, okay, yeah, I need to build, but I also need to have a personal life. So how do you feel about that balance? Like, how do you manage work-life balance?
I don't think there is such a thing as work-life balance.
Okay.
I think that building businesses goes in cycles. And so when you're building a business, there's no balance.
Yeah.
You just got to go all in.
You're right.
And I will say this, I have found myself, when building businesses for a 3-month period of time, isolating and spending much less time with my friends, and that's a slippery slope. It's really dangerous to isolate to that extent. So when you have a balance per se, it's just making sure that you're able to step away and spend some time doing things with friends that are not a release because you want to drink or drug or go to the club. It's playing paddle for me, or tennis, or golf, or going to eat. Things that I would do normally to not work 20 hours a day, but I do them with my friends. And that's why I've designed my life to have friends in my life that do the same sort of things, so that we're doing something healthy, we're doing something active, and the conversations that we're having are around business and growth and mindset. So that's really the balance, I think, is having those outlets. And then look, on Sundays you can sleep a little extra. You know? It's like, just build, and then I think I would much rather look forward to spending a week of vacation. Like, for me, vacation, I'm still working and I still enjoy my work, but it puts me in a position where I'm relaxing a little bit more than if I was grinding at home in my life. And so that's how I consider balance when building and focusing on earning money.
Okay, yeah. Like, it's so hard as a woman. I've been burned so many times with girls, like, so many times. They're selfish, they like try to just manipulate you, whatever. They have a big ego. So how, like, where do you find people, right? Like, where do you find these people that actually build businesses like you do, but then also have this, like, you know, athletic side?
Yeah.
And are spiritual.
I built my network with other online entrepreneurs by joining coaching programs.
Really?
That's the easiest way. People undervalue this so much. I think a lot of times people will join a mentorship or a coaching program and be like, I didn't get exactly what I wanted out of this. And I think that's the wrong frame of mind, because I've never thought like that in my life, and none of my friends have either. What we think about when we join a program is, how much can we bring to this, and how can we be successful and take away gold nuggets no matter what? Even if we got the exact thing that we signed up for, or we didn't, that's not what success is. Like, look at the network that I developed. I signed up for a coaching program 2.5 years ago when I got online. That's how I got online. And I met one of my best friends and 2 other friends that have helped me build my business, and we've all grown together online. And as a result of that one person, that developed my network from there, right? And he's spiritual, and we work out together, and we go to the gym together. And then from there, when he and I would go to the gym together or church together, we'd meet other people, right? So I really found 1 or 2 people that were similar to me, but you got to think about where you're going to find these people. And for me, it's the gym, church, and other business or networking programs.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the only 3 places.
Yeah.
Lose it as much as you want.
Right. Okay, hold on. Okay, so why do people stay in situations that are hurting them? It could be a toxic relationship, it could be drugs, it could be a business that they hate and it's just like weighing them down completely.
I think people stay in situations that they should get out of for longer than they should because they can't see any other option. This has become their norm. It's become what's comfortable. And honestly, most people are more codependent on other people or a job or on a substance than they ever realize. For me, I couldn't imagine my life without those friends that I partied with, without smoking weed, without going to the club. I couldn't imagine my life, right? So it's scary to remove a drug that you relied upon. It's scary to remove a person that you relied upon because your fear is a projection into the future of something unknown that's going to be very uncomfortable. And we have a tendency to project fear into the future worse than the actual situation ever ends up being. And so when someone can walk through that fear and develop faith, then they can handle anything. And so I genuinely believe that staying in a relationship for too long is a lack of a solid friend group and a lack of solid faith. With those two things and enough pain, anyone can actually move their way out of a situation.
Okay. So as someone who built, like, you have a community online, right? Do you think that having an online community is necessary? For having a business, building connections, being in rooms that you'll never walk into, but you have access to them online.
Yeah. Okay. So most people, when they get online, they don't have the network or the prowess that I had. Before I got online, I was already the president of 10X Health. I had built a business to 300 employees and 50 million. I have a network of billionaires and insane people, right? I didn't need to get online to do this. Okay. My life has never transformed more rapidly than from the moment I got online. My network grew tenfold. My opportunities grew tenfold. My impact grew tenfold. Creating a personal brand is the absolute best way to have an impact, to meet other people, to get in rooms that you never could, and honestly to serve God. Because I can serve God by helping people in silence, yes. I can help God by, transforming my friends or my family and by serving Him and praying, but I can have an even larger impact if I'm able to spread the message of faith and transformation online, right? I can get any single thing I want done today as a result of my personal brand.
Right.
If I post on my story, I need a cleaning lady, I need an assistant, I need a chef, I need a chief operating officer, I want to get on a podcast, I just post it on my story. And the reason is because I've given so much value online for so long that people know, like, and trust me.
Right.
And if I'm to go into a new business like I am today, and I were to run cold traffic, reach out to people on LinkedIn, send cold emails, run paid ads, and people land on my organic personal brand, that's gonna move them down the funnel way quicker and way better than any sales call ever could. I don't have to convince people that I am the real deal because they see online I have value add content, I have relation content, I have authoritative content, I have testimonials, right? And I really live the life. And so when they see all that, they're like, wow, you know what, I don't need to get on a call with you.
Yeah.
I
And you're
trust you.
vulnerable too, and that's what people love. I preach this all to my clients. Your testimony is the most powerful thing that you have, and you see that in faith, right? You see that, like, even just sharing your story, like, that makes me want to be a believer, even though I already am, right? But that just convinces people, like, okay, he's that much more credible, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what is one thing that you, like, refuse to break, like, in your daily routine?
Meditation.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, no matter what.
What's that look like for you?
I meditate in silence for 10 minutes every single day.
Okay.
Even if, some other things are really important to me, like walking and working out and electrolytes. I never miss electrolytes, I never miss meditation. But meditation has the most transformative impact out of anything because when we wake up, our mind is scattered. It's not focused. We have a lot of stimulus coming into our brain. And so when I sit in silence, I allow thoughts to come into my mind, and then I release those thoughts and focus on the present moment. Every time I let a thought go, I'm doing a mental repetition and I'm strengthening my mind so that I can have more focus, energy, clarity, and ability to think critically throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's transformed my life and my business.
I love that. I honestly, 2 years ago, I did not practice gratitude. I always was like, thank you, God, whatever. Like, I would, talk to Him. But I really, 2 years ago, I was like, I'm so blessed. Like, I literally can live by myself, right? I don't have to rely on anyone. Like, gratitude is it's necessary, 100%. All right, so what are your standards with dating? Obviously, like living in Miami, what have you experienced? What are your standards?
I've been blessed to not really date girls in Miami.
Okay. Good.
I wasn't super serious about finding a girl that I wanted to actually date for many years because when I turned 31, I reinvented myself. So I spent a year by myself, didn't even talk to a girl, just getting sober, developing with
That's
God, being a better
important.
person.
Yeah.
Then when COVID happened, I started building a company and I had a girlfriend, but she lived in another country. And so I would see her sporadically. And I was also working like 18-hour days. Then I became president of 10X South and I was working 18-hour days and I was in Beverly Hills, Scottsdale, and here. And so I had another girlfriend that, again, lived in another country that I would see once in a while. So it wasn't until like I left, a couple years ago that I actually started thinking about dating. And quite honestly, I've been single for most of that because I'm extremely picky.
Yeah.
I just have a list, like a girl has to have God.
Yeah.
She has to be a great communicator, open-minded, fit, athletic, like wants to be a mother, like has her own interests. Because the last thing I want is her to like only care about handbags and shoes and her nails.
Yeah.
I want her to be feminine. Like I want her to have a desire to like raise kids.
Is that what feminine means to you?
I think it's like to me it's like soft and empathetic and like having some motherly qualities. But I would also say I don't want a woman that's so, I suppose, feminine that she can't handle like my brashness.
Right.
Because I'm really blunt and I'm very logical. And so I don't remain in emotion for a very long period of time. And if a girl remains in an emotional state for like days instead of working through a problem, I just can't handle it. I'm like, yo, like what's the issue? Like just say, I'm mad at you for this reason, or I felt this way because you did this thing. Okay, I'm always gonna listen. But if you spend like 6, 7, 8 hours just not saying anything, it's like, yo, I'm a grown man, like I can handle anything. And if there's something that you don't like, no problem. And so I also am very tough to be with because I demand growth and excellence from myself. And so I would expect that from someone else too. Like if they're not growing every single day, then it's never gonna work out.
I watched hundreds of podcasts on, I love relationships, right? I'm a hopeless romantic. So I see all these, podcasts and people being like, as a high value man, like these men want these super feminine women, but not, they don't have their businesses, right? They revolve around them. So it's like, it's eye-opening, and I love to see that, like, they have to be their own person and want different things, and you guys make things together. That's how a relationship was designed.
Yeah.
You live two different lives, but you're stronger together. You see a lot, like, of girls on TikTok being like, yeah, like, they're not doing anything, right? What do you do, right? Maybe you're a hostess, I'm not judging, whatever. But like you want to be treated like a princess, but you're not willing to grow into someone like, more amazing.
Yeah. If I can't have a conversation with that girl in the long term, it doesn't matter how pretty she is because physical beauty is gonna last for 30 minutes.
Literally.
Like I've been on so many dates with girls where I'm sitting there and I'm like, this girl's a supermodel, and I'm like, okay,
I can't talk to her.
I don't know. I have nothing else in common or interesting with
know.
you. And if I can't explain the basics of my day, like for example, let's say I have a girlfriend and she comes home and she's like, hey, how was your day? And I'm like explaining what I'm doing, and she can't even comprehend like what my work day is like. She's never experienced any of that. It's gonna be hard. Like my mom had a business or was always a hustler before she met my dad. But once they had kids, she stopped working and was a mother. And then when we were in high school, she decided to go back to her business. And there's no right or wrong as to when a woman wants to do that. But I think to find that balance of like someone who's believes in God, has her own interests, maybe her own career, doesn't have OnlyFans, but also wants to be a mother and would be willing to be a mother for raising the kids, it's just hard to find. I just haven't found it.
Yeah, it really is hard to find. And it's especially hard to find, like, even on my last podcast, I was, like, talking about how, like, being I'm locked into my business 17 hours, 18 hours a day, right? I'm like, don't talk to me, like I just want to focus. And it's really hard because, you know, if a man is like that, if a high value man is also like that, how do you find that balance, right? Like you guys are both really busy, but how does that work? Because I also want someone very, you know, like educated and smart and like that understands and like wants to help me grow my business, right? You guys should be trying to better each other's businesses, but also, you know, when you come home, he's like safe and he's like that's, I always say soft macho because you know, he's in touch with his sensitive side. You know, he's not like, get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, you know, like hell no. I'm like, really? I just worked all day. What about you? Oh, I just worked all day too. Okay, let's have balance. Let's go eat.
So, you know, it's funny. I've always said this. Someone asked me like, does your wife need to be a good cook? And I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna have a chef. Like, I don't care. There's certain things that money will handle. Like, I make enough money to have a chef and a cleaning lady and 2 nannies. Like, I'm not worried about that stuff. I already have those things. So, like, I don't need someone to come in and cook. Like, I'd rather she have some level of intellect that we can share a common bond together.
Right. People are they're very brickish. Like, I will have a conversation with someone and they're like, what do you do? I'm like, okay, I have a marketing agency. I manage digital presences online. They're like, oh, so cool. So what does that mean? Like you do social media? Like you're an influencer? I'm like, no. And that shows me everything I need to know. They're like, oh yeah, I post like workout videos. That's good. Does it make you money though? Like you could have all the fitness that you want, but are you making it into something that you love? So what traits immediately make you lose interest? Like you're at dinner, they do this, and it's like, no.
As soon as a girl says, I love to be spoiled, I'm like, yo, fuck you. I'm like, yo, no shit. Doesn't every girl?
Everyone.
But just because you're pretty and you got a BBL doesn't mean you deserve to be spoiled. Like, grow a fucking brain. You deserve to be spoiled when you build with somebody. And if you ask to be spoiled, you're never gonna be spoiled. I hate that shit. It's like, yo, I will spoil the fuck out of any girl I'm with as long as we build something together and I like her and she deserves it, right? It's like, it's something you build together. And so I think that's number one.
Do you like the BBL look also?
I mean, I think you can build a nice ass, like if you really focus in the gym, you know? I don't think that, I mean, like this is a whole nother topic because I definitely have dated Latina girls and I've seen like all different kinds of BBLs. I think the traditional get a BBL and don't work out is trash, you know? I don't think that's a good look. Now, that being said, are there ways to accentuate a backside and also work out into it? Yes, I've seen plenty of lipo fat transfer where girls still like really build their hamstrings, really build their ass. Like, yes, you can do it. Can you do it naturally? Yes. But also like, I'm definitely not against like any sort of cosmetics or anything like that if it's done tastefully. Because I've also run med spas, and so I've seen like Sculptra or hyperdilute radiesse where like you can put a bunch of little, you know, needles in the top side of your glutes and you know, have little injections, and it only holds if you work out and build muscle around it. And so I'm not against any of that, but I also think like you can build an ass if you really focus on it. Like, I know girls that have completely transformed themselves, and so I think, is natural better? Yeah.
Because you're gonna know what your kids are gonna look like.
Yeah, totally. You know, I think yes. But I'm not like, I don't shame anyone for doing anything. I just think it's a slippery slope when you get a BBL done and you don't consistently work out. And
what sacrifices did success force you to make? So obviously we're talking about the rebrand, right? You did the rebrand. You're still kind of going into a rebrand.
I got on Instagram a year and a half ago, and when I did, I was just told, you have an amazing story, you should tell your story online. You could save and help a lot of people get sober and find God and get healthy and get in shape and change their mindset and get their family back in their life. And so that's what I did. I just focused on personal development and things that I had actually done. I just told my story, and my brand grew as a result of that. I spoke a little bit about business, but I wasn't specifically targeting business owners. I had personal development programs and then a one-on-one program. I got to a point in my journey where I said, look, I can have a greater impact, and I really prefer working with higher level people. And so I had to, in this rebrand, sacrifice working with everybody and helping as many people as possible and creating that personal content and shifting more towards leadership content, business, and helping people transform in that way. So I'm working with way less clients than I ever have before, but obviously I charge way more and I can have that bigger impact. And so it's tough. Whenever you go through a rebrand, you have to sacrifice the old identity, especially if you built a brand online, like your old identity, how you interacted with your followers.
100%.
You're going to have a massive blow to your ego because your new content's not going to hit the same way. Your views are going to be down. And so it's like starting all over again. But I know it's the right way for me to go because it's who I can impact the most and it's who I like working with.
So going with ego, how do you manage your ego specifically?
Well,
Like-
I've been blessed to do a lot of work on myself and observe my ego time and time again. And I think daily meditation is a great way to observe my ego and say, hey, what thoughts are coming into my mind that are rooted in fear, that are rooted in ego? And I'm just so aware now of when I'm doing something out of ego. And sometimes I still do it, right?
Yeah.
But a very simple thing that I could say is this. Let's say I was cruising in my car, right? It was a light blue $400,000 Aston Martin. Okay, everyone can see that that's me driving that car if I roll the windows down. Nobody can see me in that car if I keep the windows up. Why would I keep the windows down and roll around at night slow through these areas? Was it because I like driving slow and feeling the wind on my hair?
No.
It's my ego.
Yeah, you won't be able to see you.
So when you can understand something that simple, you can understand the way that your ego is manifesting in every single thing that you do.
The reason people get an ego is because they're insecure. And usually it happens with their childhood or like, you know, oh, they grew up with no money and now they're flexing their money, right? I faced it. Like when I first got, you know, a few $100,000, I was like, okay, same, I'm gonna get my Louis shoes, I'm gonna get my Dolce, I'm gonna like, you know, I rented a G-Wagon for 4 months, $6,500 a month. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Wow, that's more than I've ever spent on a car.
Like, you're dumb, Jade. I went back to North Carolina, I drove my 2001 Mustang for like 2 months, and I was like, get it together, girl, because this is not you. So, grounded myself, and yeah, so that's how I stay grounded.
That's good.
Go back to North Carolina, come from the roots.
I love that.
So what does freedom actually mean to you?
Freedom is to wake up and be able to do what I want on a daily basis, right? To have the freedom to travel, the freedom to operate in my business as I want. You know, it's not, for me, it's not working a 9 to 5, it's not having a boss, but it's also not being a slave to my employees. And the only way that I can have true freedom as a business owner is to empower my employees, to build my team, to build my managers, to put systems in a place so that they're able to think on their own. And to me, that's what real freedom looks like, is not being addicted to your phone, having a business that can run semi without you.
I hate that. Yeah, when I'm with someone, it's present. Like, I want to be fully present with you, even like on dates, right? Even when I'm with friends. If you're on your phone, like, I understand if you have to check something or something, you know, but I'm the most important thing right now. You made plans for a reason.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
as someone going through a rebrand, like, what is one piece of advice that you could give them?
Everybody starts over at some point in their life, and life goes in cycles. So every really great person that people look up to or aspire to be or see online have gone through some major transformation in their life. And we all have to start over. Imagine, I went from being president of 10X Health to having to talk to a little green dot with only 3,000 followers. Do you know what that ego blow is like, to say I'm starting over, I'm getting into social media, I'm creating coaching programs, when I went from the golden boy who had just grown a company, you know, 5X in 1 year and you know, got up to 300 employees. So everybody's gonna go through those cycles. I'm going through it again right now, and that's why it's called a rebirth. And so you just have to understand that in order to get to the next level, you have to not be afraid of what the future is gonna look like. Walk in faith, give your problems to God, and just say, hey, my ego's not gonna control me, because we all go through it.
100%. And then lastly, sexy and smart is all about you can do it all, right? You can be feminine, you can be masculine, you can go to the gym for 2 hours a day, but then, get your nails done, get your hair done, whatever. You can do anything. You don't have to be in a category to fit in, right? So what do you think about that, and what are your last closing thoughts?
Man, I mean, I would say I'm the biggest quilt of all time, meaning that I have so many different personality types. I have so many different backgrounds. My life and my personality is like a quilt, right? I wouldn't say that I fit in with any one specific group of people or that I'm one specific type of person. And I think being multidimensional and dynamic, being authentic is what's best, right? Like if anyone could look at me and say, hey, that guy just is who he is, that's the whole goal. I used to have my nails painted. Sometimes I dress crazy. Sometimes I dress like a business guy. Sometimes I speak my mind and what I feel. Sometimes I might even slightly offend people, but I am authentic to myself. And authenticity is the highest frequency that you can operate at, higher than any form of love. So
100%.
that's what you should aim for.
Being authentic is what we strive for, right? Because it's like, if you're living for someone else, why are you living?
You're not living.
You're not living. You're stuck in a box.
Exactly.
So, guys, I will see you next episode, and thank you for watching.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. That was good.
Nice.
I'm excited we met.
Yeah,
that was
me too.
so funny how you were like, podcast? I was like, okay.
I mean, it said you had a smart and sexy podcast, and I was like, oh, damn, this girl's got a business thing going on, and I like her content.